Hi everyone, my name is Belinda Fernandez. I'm doing my John Maxwell. For those of you who have just started following me, I'm a speaker with John Maxwell, and I'm also a spiritual director. So I'm using this John Maxwell book, 21 Qualities of Leaders in the Bible, to do reflections, and you can also do group work with it. But I'm just doing it to try to build up my own ministry, my own practice. I'm a graduate of Regis College in Toronto, and I graduated in 2011, which is a long time ago. I have been trying to get work in administration as well as in the church, and it hasn't opened up for me, so I'm still looking for executive assistant or admin assistant roles. My most recent positions was at Teleperformance in the call center, but the pressure out there is too much for me. I have high blood pressure now. I have tinnitus in my ears, and so it's just not a good fit for me to be on the back-to-back calls and emails where you have 9 minutes to answer, and the pay is also not good. So I'm trying to find something better. I did enjoy my work while I did it, but the pressure was too much. And I have over 5 years experience with them. I've been laid off for over a year now, and I'm still looking for work. So I'm hoping that God will open the right opportunity for me. For me, my dream was to live in Africa. So I did not imagine coming to Canada, becoming a Rotman graduate, getting my master's from Regis, and then landing up in small-term contract work at minimum wage, being unable to meet my bills, and having to rely on the milk of human kindness, sending out GoFundMe links, begging people for money, and having to take money from family, relatives. So it's not been a good experience for me. I've had opportunities to use my skills in the community in volunteer work, but I'm also looking to earn my own money, buy my own place. And I did have a place, a very nice condo, not far from here, but because of the discriminatory lending, I could not renew my mortgage. So I landed up losing that place, which I had bought for myself and my mother. And it's just been very difficult. So I came here in 2002, and I've only had 2 permanent jobs. The first one was at TD Bank, where I worked in human resources, and then I went into operations, doing administration and business analysis. And then after that, I did consulting work for 11 years because I couldn't get a permanent job. So it's been very, very hard, and I've kept my faith. I've put my faith in the Lord, not in people. And in the last 5 years, I've come back to enjoying some of the things I like, my music, my piano, going to tennis matches. But before that, I did not have any time to enjoy life because, like now, I spend all my time sitting and applying for jobs, going to networking events, upgrading my skills, and really not getting any reward for the work that I've done. Other people who are younger than me and less qualified than me have been selected to lead organizations and to lead practices in non-profits, including in the One campaign. And I had actually told them, I was talking to them when they came because our CEO came to meet us. And I was telling them, it's really frustrating. Like, why is it that, people like me can't get jobs there? And they're like, oh, we don't know, just carry on applying. I'm like, yeah, carry on applying. But it's like a long time now. So it's very, very frustrating. And then I had tried to go to America. But now, because of all the restrictions coming in under President Trump, that hasn't worked out either. Because in America, the executive assistants earn very well. And they have regular hours. They don't have to be available 24/7 to have a good paid job. So it's been very, very frustrating. I live off my debt. I live off lines of credit and credit cards, and that's how I survive. And it's a very, very difficult situation because there are people who don't have my good skills. They don't have a good work ethic. They don't care about their work, and yet the companies keep them. So, I really don't know what is going on and why it is that companies don't keep me. And even in the church, when I apply for jobs in the Catholic Church, they say, oh, but you don't have experience working in the church. I'm like, what more do you want? I've been volunteering in the church since I came to Canada. Plus I've been volunteering in the church in England and South Africa and Zimbabwe. So what more do you want? The priests know me. So it's just ridiculous how HR manages things. And it is HR because HR makes those decisions for recruitment, including in the church. So it's become too much. That's why now I have high blood pressure. And so now I've always been good with my health. I've always exercised and focused on my health. But working in a call center is different from working in other jobs because you don't get to walk around, you don't get to talk to people, you're just sitting on that job the whole day. So I've been trying to get positions like in retail, anything where I can do face-to-face work with people, not something like this where I'm going to be living off debt my whole life and not being able to progress. Because I've missed out on all the family gatherings, all the family events, weddings, Christmases, everything. And people even just stopped inviting me because I don't have the money to go. And when you go, you do have to take something with you. You have to take a gift or you have to take something. You can't just go unless it's your immediate family, like if it's my sister or my brother, then yes, it's okay. But even with that, I make sure that when I go, I take something. When my brother comes from England, I take him out. I take my mother to nice restaurants. So I would like that to be reciprocated for me as well. Instead of me always being the one to go to America, go visit people. When they come, they don't even come and visit me. Or when people go to America, coming from overseas, they don't even tell our family that, hey, we're coming, like if you guys can come, it would be nice to see you. So it just makes you feel like, oh, your life is worthless. Your life, like really, who cares whether you come or not? And nobody wants to feel that way. So that's why we have to have our faith to hold on to, because if we have our faith, we know that we are created in the image and likeness of God, and we know that that will carry us through and that will strengthen us. So I'm finishing off this book today. This is the last section, the last case studies, and this one is on vision. And when I did my vision statement when I was studying to be a spiritual director, I started my studies in 2005 and I graduated in 2011. I studied part-time and I worked 3 jobs. I used to go to classes in the evening, at the weekend, and I used to work in the library. So that just shows you I had to have discipline and I had to be resilient. And we had to do our own vision statement. And my vision statement, most of it I've been able to do. I wanted to help women and girls. I wanted to set up partnerships with political leaders. And I wanted to do things that help women and girls to come up, which I have been contributing to and I have been doing. But unfortunately, for me, financially, I don't get the support. Every time I get hired, they say, oh no, you did a fantastic job. We're really happy with you. We're going to give you an extension on your contract. And then they don't do it. Or somebody's wife or husband will have cancer, then they'll take it out on me and they won't keep me in the job. So it's an ongoing thing, and it's very unfair, especially when you're single and you don't have anybody else to fall back on, because you can't save, you can't buy a car, you can't do anything really. You're just living from day to day, focusing on getting your basic necessities, your groceries, so that you can live. And I'm a welfare case. That's what I am, because I don't get paid what I'm worth. I'm not getting the salaries over 70,000 a year. And I take whatever benefits they give people, like you can apply for an electricity credit. I applied for that. So I'm using that. So I only pay like maybe $10 or $20 towards my electricity. Otherwise it would come to much more. And it's not a nice way to live, especially if you're educated, you're hardworking, you have good values. It's not a nice way to live. It's very disheartening and it's very disappointing. So I'm hoping that my vision will finally come to fruition. I'm hoping that everything that I've invested in will pay off. And if it's not here and it's somewhere else, then I'm prepared to move, because I don't want to carry on living like this. It's not like I'm a drug addict or an alcoholic or somebody that's unreliable or who hasn't helped people. It's not the case. So that's what I'm praying for, because my life has been wasted in Canada. If you look at the volunteering I've done, if you look at what I've invested in mentoring people, helping people, and they say God helps those who help themselves, which is true, but people also create the circumstances which keep us down, which keep us destitute, which keep us at their mercy, so that their families come up and our families continue to struggle. And it's not fair. It's really not fair. And they don't even hide it. If I go to parties or I'm invited out and I'm talking to them, telling them, oh, I'm looking for a job, they don't say, okay, you know what, if something comes up, we'll let you know. They're rude to me. They'll say, oh, before we consider you, we're going to consider my son's girlfriend. I'm like, okay, why did you even invite me to your house? So I stay in my own house. I don't go to people's houses, because it's not a nice way. I don't think it's a nice way to treat people. And that's not the way I grew up in my African background, because I was born in Zimbabwe. That's not the way to treat people, to be rude to them, to be horrible to them. Even if you don't consider me to be your family anymore, you don't have to tell me. You don't have to be so horrible to always talk about other people, say, oh, this is my priority, you're not my priority, we are a couple. It's not a nice way to treat somebody who is kind-hearted and who has done you no wrong. And I think that needs to change in our society in Canada. So for today's case study, I looked at Genesis, and it was Genesis 12, 1 to 7, and then Genesis 15, 1 to 21. So this is the vision of Abraham and God's promises to him to make his family a great nation, to bless him, and that he will be a blessing to others. And whoever curses him will be cursed, and whoever blesses him will be blessed. And so that comes down to us, because we are descendants from that line. It applies to us too. So I'm just going to go through the case studies, the questions, and my reflections on them. So the first one is, what was the response of Abram, whom God later named Abraham in Genesis 17:15, to the vision he received? What does his response say about him? So he believed the Lord as soon as the promise was made, and he credited it to him as God's righteousness. He had great faith in God and the promises that God made, and that shows us his faith. The second question is, Why did God appear to Abram again when he arrived in Canaan and repeat his promise? And why did he appear another time after that? What does that say about God? So after the promise is made, God comes to Abram when he's sleeping, and he warns him that there's a punishment that's going to come on his descendants because of the sin in the generation, and tells him that in the 4th generation his descendants will come back here, meaning to the land that was promised, for the sin of the Amorites had not yet reached its full measure. And he wanted to strengthen him, to prepare him for it, because of the sin in the land that they would enter, and that his blessing would still be with him, so he had to be able to persevere. And they would get great possessions in that land, and after that they would actually possess the land itself once they came through this tribulation period. And the third point is, how is Abram's story typical of the challenges leaders face when they have a vision and start to take action to fulfill it? How is Abram's story atypical? So leaders with a vision do encounter sin along the way. Sometimes it's not our sin, but it's sin of a nation, sin of a generation. And we suffer because of that after accepting the invitation of God and after we start taking action. And the punishment for the sin of the people that comes on us when we believe, because we hold fast, we hold true to God's promise. And then after that comes the fulfillment of God's promises, but we have to persevere. So that's my journey too. It's your journey too if you're a Christian, because you will encounter it. You'll encounter suffering because of other people's corruption, mistakes. You'll encounter discrimination. You'll encounter people coming against you, people using what is good in your life and of you to bring you down. But we have to keep our faith and we have to persevere. So that's why for me, I'm hoping my journey will not be like Moses, that I will not die without having reached my potential. I'm hoping that I will be able to own my own property, own my own cars, and not continue living in the state of having no real support and no upward mobility in terms of my earnings, no land of my own. Because if I had been supported by the banks, and if they had listened to what TD had said, they would have renewed my mortgage. But they didn't. So I landed up losing everything. And I've never been one to give up, to quit. But the reality is now, with the health challenges I'm facing, I have to be very gentle with myself. So even when there's events on now with the One campaign and all that, I don't go to everything. Before I used to offer for everything. But now I pick and choose which ones I can offer my time for. And even in the church, I step back from doing the readings because they have their own stipulations of what they want. And if I feel I'm not ready, I'm not going to do it. So I'm taking this opportunity to pray and to ask God to please help me to come up financially, because what's happening to our countries in Africa, in Canada, it's also a result of sin. And innocent people are suffering, people who didn't bring it on. It's not like I'm not somebody that went around stealing cars, doing drugs, being a prostitute. I didn't do any of those things, but I got accused of them. I got accused of stealing in the workplace. I got accused of wanting to be friends with people because, oh, they have money and good titles. Well, I have money and good titles too. I just don't have it in the way that other people have it. I don't have the property and the cars and all that. But I have Elvis Presley records, which are worth a lot of money. I have nice jewelry, I have my education. So I want to be able to earn my living, and I want to be able to come out of debt and be able to save and not have to take minimal wage jobs and menial jobs and continuing to take out the garbage and do the cleaning. I want to be able to use my education, and I want to see systems of injustice overturned in Canada, because it's not fair of them to say, even with the deacon and the deacon's wife and the priest and the Jesuits all supporting me to get into a good paid job, and the executive I work for, they still don't let me in. And who is it? It's HR. I'm also an HR person, so I know what they're doing. So I will continue to pray like Abraham and believe in God's promise and God's word. And you never know how God works in your life, because there's been many other times where people have given up on me, where they would rather have taken me and put me in Sunnybrook and left me there and not bothered with me. And the same way I came through that, I'll come through this. And I'm being gentle with myself, because believe you me, nobody else is. People are very, very harsh on me for no reason. So I know my God is a God of tenderness and compassion and mercy. And as long as I walk with him and I act justly, I know my God will never leave me. So I'll leave you with that. And it's cold here. We're expecting another storm for some reason. But I would encourage you to tell people about my work, what I'm doing, what I can offer, like and share the video, because that's how we get the word out. And I was always on the right path. It was everybody around me who brought me down. And now I'm part of John Maxwell. They are saying the things that I've been saying all along, but nobody wanted to listen. There you go.